Hey, good evening, everyone. Dave here from OSG TTV. I hope everyone's having a great Monday so far. It's September 8th, 2025, and if this is your first time here, welcome. We love streaming retro games here, weird things like virtual pinball, arcade, VR, current gen. We kind of variety stream a little of everything. Love to give you some little mini reviews on some products, have some discussions like we're doing tonight, all kinds of fun little things in the gaming world. So if you like that kind of thing, make sure to throw me a follow, and totally would appreciate it. And hope to see you around and chat with you on what you are playing and what you want to see in the future. Speaking of the future, we're doing a little / mini review. We don't have product in hand, but we did get news today that some web pages are now taking pre-orders for the Atari games. I should call it the Atari / MyArcade Gamestation Pro. Good grief, how are you doing tonight? Happy Monday to you, my friend. Hope you're having a super day. We got some Atari news to share with you tonight. No gameplay tonight. We're just going to be chatting and looking through some web pages and stuff. But yeah, we've got another mini retro handheld system this time coming out, and jury is out if we are pumped on this one or not. We will decide as we go along. Talk about some of its features, price points, games that are included, and all those different little details that can hype one up about a new system coming out. You know, I got a nice empty spot on my cabinet behind me here that a Gamestation Go would look superb on. But let's take a look and see what this thing is. A few months ago, Gamestation Go was released at a game show, trade show, along with a whole bunch of other products, and didn't know, there was quite a pause in between from the reveal to nowadays where the pre-order has been put out, but it was kind of one of those time delays where you're wondering, is anything really happening with this thing? Is it going to really happen or not? Well, it looks like it is, and we got a lot of different things to show you, some media pictures, some videos, some web pages. So let's just start with the teaser video here that they just released and show you that, and then we'll come back and chat about this a little bit more. And there you have it from MyArcade in partnership with Atari. You've got the Gamestation Go, little handheld portable Atari system, and we have a lot to talk about here with this thing. If you have any questions, let me know. I will answer them the best I can, which is probably not at all because I technically don't know a lot about this besides what we're going to share with you here tonight. So I can make stuff up, but it's not going to be the official response. We got some ads coming up here. We're going to take a quick little ad break and be back here in a bunch of seconds to continue. We'll just kind of talk about this. Let's talk about this while we're waiting. You might as well bring this into the picture here. And if I could hold it in a way that didn't look awkward, that'd be great. But yeah, some of us might not have prepared as well as we should have for this video. What I have in my hand here is the MyArcade retro video game system. This is the Gamestation Pro. So this is MyArcade's latest Atari compilation that was released last year. And actually, if you go back and look at the calendar, all right, we are back from ads. Just started talking about this guy. Last October 31st, 2023 was when MyArcade released the Gamestation Pro, which is another Atari collection, kind of a little hybrid mini system packed full of games, 2600, 5200, 7800 arcade games, a couple miscellaneous things, some wireless joysticks that the jury is out on if they really appreciate them or not. You do have the ability to wire them in and use them for a little bit better response, but pretty interesting joysticks. They got buttons on top, they got triggers on them, and the standard button down on the controller like in the standard Atari position. They also have a dial on it in the bottom right hand corner of the joystick. You can spin a dial to play games like Breakout and Pong and things like that. So really interesting unit. This one I've got a little later on. It was on sale. I think it was probably half price of what they're asking for, but pretty decent entry into the world of Atari collections from MyArcade. MyArcade is also known for all kinds of little handhelds, and the latest I've had my eye on that I haven't been able to pull a trigger on yet is the small miniature version of Pole Position, and they actually have an analog steering wheel on it that is kind of like spinner rotation. It's not dial. It doesn't stop, at 270 degrees or something like that. It spins all the way around and contains the actual arcade ROM, or very close to the arcade ROM of Pole Position on there. So I've been eyeing that up. MyArcade has been putting out some very interesting things as of late. So Gamestation Pro, this one just went up on the web for pre-order, like I said, on Atari's website. I think there's like two other sites that I've seen as well. One is EB Games, and the other one is GameStop. Those are the three sites I've seen so far. It started with Atari, and it's slowly starting to expand out. Let's go ahead and look at that website and see what's going on here. Let me bring up the Atari website and we'll go through everything. There are a lot of photos on it, but we'll be looking at the photos afterwards because I do have close-up high-res pictures of these photos. At least I think I do. And if I could figure out how to work the web page, we'll do that. So let's take a look at what we got here. This is the Atari webpage for the Gamestation Pro. First thing right at the top, you see we got a price point of $179.99. All right, so I'm going to be the first one to admit here, before we go any further, and I probably should have mention this before we started really diving into this stuff. Atari 2600, Atari 7800. Over the years, you know, we all grew up with this as kids. You know, we had the consoles, we had collections of cartridges up the wazoo, and somewhere along the way, you know, you make that mistake and you sell everything off, probably to buy other newer technology, and you kind of keep the rotation going. A lot of us regretted selling all that old stuff as we were kids, and looked for a way to go back and collect everything that we owned back in the day. I know I did. I'm still collecting things, and I gotta admit, as of today, there are so many different ways to play Atari games from back in the Atari 2600 era and the years slightly after. Oodles and oodles of ways to play games. You have mini systems. You have the release of Atari 2600 systems themselves that accept cartridges with, you know, they call those the Plus series. You have things like the Atari VCS console, which is the latest console produced by Atari and put out, and once again they include all kinds of Atari 2600 games. You got remastered versions of them, right? Good grief. And you've got the Atari 50 collection that came out, and home consoles, and including the Atari VCS. You've got emulation. You've got handhelds. You've got small handhelds now that are playing Atari. You've got, you know, there almost isn't a device in the world that isn't playing Atari games. And after so many of these things, you start talking to yourself and you're like, you know what? It looks kind of neat, but what does it do beyond what I can do now? You know, I've got 16 different ways to play Atari games. How could they possibly release something new that I want to play Atari games on? Because then again, you got to remember, this guy is a stickler. I like playing my games on original hardware with original controllers, original spinners, original dials. I don't like playing games with alternate controls. You know, there's only so many different ways you can do it. And guess what? MyArcade found a way to get me interested in another product. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's marketing geniuses at Atari. I don't know if it's marketing geniuses at MyArcade. But holy crap. You know, their next thing is like, how do we bring these people in? How about let's give them a handheld system that they can take with them with a portable screen like a Nintendo system, and not just give it the standard joypad controls with a couple fire buttons. Let's do something we haven't seen before. Let's put a trackball on that thing so they can actually play trackball games. Let's put a spinner on there so they can actually play paddle and spinner games. Let's include games that we've included on the newest modern systems like the Atari VCS and PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Let's include some remastered games on there. You know, who are these marketing geniuses? Because they keep doing it to me. They keep pulling me in for more, and I can't figure out how they do it. It's kind of the same stuff over and over again, and we'll see that as we look at the game lists and stuff. But damn it, I don't have a handheld for Atari, and I don't have a handheld that has a cool little kickstand and has plug-in HDMI cable so I can plug it into my large screen TV and play it there instead, or plug it into my computer and stream it in my capture card. Who are these wizards? Unbelievable. Alright, let's start going through this webpage here. So you got the Atari Gamestation Go. Take retro games everywhere you go. Play over 200 console and arcade games, including arcade classics, Balls of Steel, and Pac-Man, and 5 games from the Neo Retro Recharge Series. How close is this to the Steam Deck? It obviously does not have the power of a Steam Deck. Are you talking as far as size, dimensions, or... I don't know. To be honest, I've never had a Steam Deck in my hand. So I don't know if I could tell you the answer to that one. We'll show you a lot of pictures here. We'll show you pictures that give you scale and size. The screen is a 7-inch screen. If you purchase a Steam Deck, could you play all the same games? If the Steam Deck is limited to Steam games, which maybe you can hack it and do things with it and load your own software. I don't know, because once again, I've never owned one. But if you did like the Atari 50 series on the Steam Deck, or if you purchase the Recharge games, yeah, you could technically play it on the Steam Deck. Or if there's a way to hack it and put emulation on there, which I don't know. So I guess it's possible. But keep in mind, you're not going to get things on there like the spinner. You're not going to get things on there like a trackball. So if you want to play a game of Missile Command, guess what? You're going to be moving around with the analog stick or the directional pad. And, this Gamestation Go has one up on you then, because it's got the trackball. It can do it. Trackball is the way to play some of these games. Centipede. Nobody wants to play Centipede with an analog stick or the D-pad, right? So they've done it. They've thought of a way to beat the Steam Deck if you like using original style controls. It's amazing. An amazing 6 different controls are packed into this beautifully designed handheld. Paddle, trackball, D-pad, bumpers, numeric keypad with classic gamepad buttons, ABXY, allowing you to play every game with the controls as it was designed for. Also features a high-res 7-inch display, Wi-Fi connectivity, HDMI, USB-C ports, and rechargeable battery. Available for pre-order now. And there's more. We'll get into the more in a little while. There's more. Like, this is the guts of it right here that you're looking at on the screen. But beyond the guts of it, there's more to it. I'm going to show you what the more is, and it's kind of amazing. It almost brings a tear to my eye. All right, so we can click the pre-order button, or we can scroll down and look at more. So these are just some ads and other products on the right side here, but overview. A little of this is regurgitated throughout the page, but let's go into it. The latest in Atari's collaboration with MyArcade, the Gamestation Go blends retro gaming with modern features. The handheld console comes packed with over 200 built-in games, including arcade and home console favorites from Atari's massive library, along with officially licensed game from Pac-Man, Jalco, and Pico International. Pico. Don't really know how to pronounce that. The Gamestation Go, even includes 5 games from the Atari Recharge series and Balls of Steel for the first time on a MyArcade console. Balls of Steel is the pinball application that has been out somewhere. I've never played it, but from what I heard, it's like 5 to 7 different pinball machines on it. They're not like officially licensed pinball machines. They're custom remakes, or like they'll be like a pinball that's like Centipede themed or something like that. I can't remember. I saw some reviews of it a while back, but so there are things like that. What do we got? The integrated paddle, D-pad, trackball, numeric keypad, bumpers, and classic gamepad buttons allow you to play every game in the collection with the controls it was designed for. Get this. Smart Glow, quote unquote, Smart Glow technology highlights what controls work best with each game. So, if you've ever seen like arcade if you've ever seen like arcade 1-up machines that people mod, like the machine that I have behind me, sometimes they'll put in lit control panel buttons. Like say player 1 has 6 buttons, you know, for like a Street Fighter style layout. They have applications that will light up those buttons based on the game you're playing. Like if you play a game that's like a 3-button game like track and field, you got run buttons and then a jump button right in the middle. It'll highlight those 3 buttons and leave the rest non-illuminated so you know which buttons you're using in the game. So Blinky, yes, Blinky to map the lighting for the game. So that is pretty cool. They're doing that on the Gamestation Go, which is pretty cool. LED Blinky. The 7-inch high-resolution display, game save options, and Wi-Fi connectivity upgrade the experience for modern gamers. Play on the big screen with HDMI output and USB-C ports to attach external controllers. Also includes a pop-out stand and rechargeable battery with 4 to 5 hours of playtime, which is pretty decent. Features. A lot of these start repeating here. 200 plus video games built in, 5 games from the Atari Recharge, 7-inch full-color display, integrated paddle, trackball keypad, Wi-Fi for updates, Smart Glow, and powered by built-in rechargeable batteries. Availability. Pre-order today. Ships October 2025. As I mentioned before, the Gamestation Pro released last year on October 31st. Let me take a look at my calendar and see when October 31st was here real quick. Going back, we're almost there. December. October 31st was a Thursday. Last Thursday of the month. So if we go back to, today, we're in September, going to October. October 31st is a Friday. Would they pull off another October 31st release? Sure, why not? What's the difference between Thursday and Friday, right? Let's do it. Let's go for October 31st. It would be cool if it were earlier, so I could... Oh, I lost my webpage. Atari.com. Let's go for it. All right. Why did I? There we go. We're back. We're back. All right. So here you got some pictures. We're just going to go through these really quick because we've got closer pictures. Here's the video that we watched earlier. Over 200 games included. Here's a little marketing page. Some throwback controls, kind of a close-up there. MyArcade, Atari. Oh, excuse me. Screen, visuals, number of games, kind of the same things. Okay. So that's it. So that's their pre-order page right now. We're going to take you through some marketing photos that we've got. I got them through MyArcade's website. They had a link on their page to some Dropbox files, and we grabbed them all. We showed you the video to start the show off. We actually have we got ads coming up. We'll just talky talk for a little bit here. Let's get this geared up here. We'll just show that after the ads. Actually, we'll show that now because it's not that exciting. It's kind of a little glitchy ad here. All right, so that's a little mini video. Let's go ahead and look at some pictures here, shall we? What pictures do we want to start with? Product photos. Packaging photos. Let's go packaging photos. Those are kind of exciting. Okay, let's go picture group. This is not the photo I want to show you. These are not the droids you're looking for. There we go. Alright, we'll wait for Good Grief to get back. And he's back! Ads are over. So while you were gone, we flipped on another short video clip of the product. It's literally like a 10 or 15 second mini teaser. That's not super exciting, so we just played that during the break. We're going to show some product pictures here that we grabbed off their site. So here we see a mocked version. This is in no way their final product, but this is what the box looks like. Looks pretty cool. Good Grief says the box is lacking a bit. I like it the way it is. I like the whole color scheme, the fading of the yellow to red through the orange. You know, they got the big 200 plus games on there to get you excited, a bunch of titles on the screen that are, well, to be honest, they're kind of show those same ones on all their boxes, right? Includes Pac-Man. Let's keep looking. Here's a flap on the side of the box. Actually, if you look back on the front of the box, down on the bottom right corner, it says lift. So if you lift, the panel goes up and you get that, right? So you get a list of all the games by lifting the front panel of the box up. That's kind of cool. They give you a little preview of all the games. For some reason my chat isn't like showing at the top of the screen here. The pattern on the right side of the game station itself with the orange mustard uses 3 colors and stripes across the box and not just gradient. That is true. They could have done that to match the unit, right? And maybe this is not the final product, like you said. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But game list, we'll be getting into this a little bit. Moving on. You don't have to zoom into this, but they give little previews of all the games here. And we got one more picture of box art. This is the back of the box with a couple promo pictures there. Showing that it connects to the back of your TV, so you can play on your big TV if you want to as well. And a couple more marketing pictures on the side. All right, let's go to... Let's bring up some other photos here. Lifestyle photos. This is the meat and potatoes. That white text on the back with the left side where it's more yellow and orange. People who are colorblind will not be able to read that, so I wish they would take the accessibility into account with their product. That is a good comment. Maybe if you guys from MyArcade are watching, you can make note of that. And maybe it's not too late to change some packaging options. It's never too late, right? We're not out until late October, I'm sure. I'm sure they're not finished up yet. All right, how do I change? All right, let's go to some close-up pictures here. This is the picture that concerns me. In all of the videos we've seen so far and the other product pictures, this picture here, I believe, is a midway build with like some options, some alternate options in there. If you look at the D-pad, it doesn't have the up, down, left, right cross on it that is extruded. This one is a round gamepad with lights in the center of it. It looks like the dot and the lines off to the side would actually glow. So that's kind of interesting that this thumbstick is on there. Every other picture we're going to look at has a different one in there. The thing that really confuses me is this looks to be like a newer picture, because if you look above the spinner, it's got 2 extra buttons on there, which you will not see in other production photos. So which one of these is the final product? I'm not really sure. They kind of posted a lot of these pictures on their webpage, and this is how they look. So here's the color schemes with the stripes on the right side of the unit. Once again, it's got the LED blinky buttons. You got the number pad for Atari 5200 games and other things. You could maybe play like, what's the name I'm looking for with the spaceship that has the number pad with it? Yeah, you all know what I'm talking about. So you could probably play that game with it. You got your start and select buttons up on top. I actually think this is an earlier model, because as you look at some different pictures coming up, the buttons are in different placements over those 4 ABC, ABXY buttons. Alright, so here you've got a product picture of the hand model holding the game, the George Costanza hand model. You got some buttons up on the top. You got a power switch over on the right side in the red, I'm assuming. You've got a charge port right in the center, USB-C. You've got HDMI up there. You've got a headphone jack. You've got a yellow button that I am not sure what the yellow button would be used for at this point. You got a bunch of triggers. You got dual triggers up on top. That's kind of cool. You have both the bumper buttons and the trigger buttons, as you can see above that kid's left hand. You got a black button over by the power switch. Maybe that's a reset. I'm not really sure what that is. You got an SD card slot, and we'll get a closer picture of that coming up here, I believe. But yes, this thing does take SD cards, which is good news, because for those of us who have modded or added things to our GameStation Pro, thanks to MyArcade allowing us to do that, I'm hoping to the gaming gods that we can do something similar on this unit. And MyArcade, if you are listening to this, if you do allow the addition of games on there, please, in your menu system that you add, allow us to skip games by pages and not have to scroll through each individual game icon to get through, like, let's say we added 200 games to this thing. Please give us a page option to flip past groups of games on the screen, not single one-by-one games. Just a little begging and pleading there. Here you got the USB-C charging port from our wonderful hand model, and you can see there a clear picture of the USB-C port, or I mean the SD card port. Good call. Yeah, that's the one thing when I'm using the GameStation Pro, that is the one thing that is bugging me after I've added my games, is that on systems that have a lot of games, you have to scroll through them one by one to get to, you know, if you're getting to the S's, starting at the A's, oh, it takes a long time to do that. It's horrible. I think I've even emailed them and asked them to consider adding that in a firmware revision if they have any more coming out. 3.5 millimeter plug for headphones. I doubt they've got Bluetooth headphone connectivity, but you never know. As you can see in this picture too, just under, just left of the X button, you have a actual start and select up there, and the buttons are built into the black header. So if you look at like the Atari logo and move off to the right where it says select and start, just to the right of those, you'll see that those are black buttons there instead of those white buttons that we saw earlier. Once again, newer product picture, I believe, because above the spinner, you do not see the two white buttons up there. You have settings and credit on the screen. We can go back a few pictures. See how there's buttons above the spinner? See how there's buttons above the 4 player buttons? Well, those are gone here, see? I believe this is the current look of the unit. And then we got some mod, I don't know if these are AI space age pictures with a little AI background or something, but you got some warlords playing in the background. 2 different pictures. One has a blank screen on the unit. If I go to the next picture, it's the same thing, but it has a little asteroids picture pop up on the screen. So they just probably fit that in the frame there. Good Grief says, yeah, I think the 2 buttons above the spinner and the sides may have found other ways to allocate functionality that I can see. If you're spinning that spinner, fingers might be hitting those buttons accidentally based on how good your fingers are. That is a good call. I didn't even think about that. And when I work on my control panels on my arcade machines, those are things you got to think of. You got to think of hand placement, finger placement, because you don't want certain controls bumping into something else as you're using them. So that is a good call. Yeah, and that makes sense, because now look at the spinner in this picture. You're not going to hit the settings and credit button as easy, right? Because it's off to the side in the black. So good call on that. Just a bunch of pictures with a bunch of games dropped in there. Hand model was busy that day. Now we got some cyberpunk action going on. So the one thing you don't really see from Atari in their old games or their modern games yet is it's nice that they have Wi-Fi connectivity in here, but they don't have online multiplayer or versus modes for their games. Like a lot of emulators nowadays have modes that you can go online and play against someone else, and which is cool. It takes some of those 2-player old retro games. It makes them a little more fun because you can actually play against someone on the other side of the world. I'm kind of surprised Atari or MyArcade hasn't jumped on this bandwagon yet to start linking people together to play games. It would make a lot of these Atari games so much more fun because, you know, face it, a lot of us are older that collect these things. We don't have our old buddies and friends coming over to play a game of combat with, but if you could go online and match up against someone who wants to play a game of combat, that would be pretty cool, I would think. So. Alright, I think we've been through these pictures. I don't know if we have any left here. Let's look and see if we've got anything else picture-wise. We got 3 more pictures here, but nothing real exciting. Let's see if I can't bring that up on the screen. And I don't know. There it is. Alright, so you kind of get a feel for the size of it. You know, it's probably a kid's hand, but we all know how big controller buttons are, right? So the A, B, X, Y buttons, you can kind of, you know, and you got a 7-inch screen. You kind of get a feel for how big that thing is going to be. Probably like the size of the first Switch, I'm guessing. Looks like you got dual speakers down on the bottom, just to the sides of MyArcade. All right, so that is our picture tour here. Let's see what else I got. What other goodies we got here? We got photos. Oh, let's talk about this. All right, so you got the Gamestation Go. You're playing it in your hands, and you want to play it on your big TV. They did add a feature at the top of it where you can plug in an HDMI cable. So at that point, you're passing your screen through to your TV and you're using the controllers to play your game. Let's say that you didn't want that HDMI cable floating around on you, right? So let's look at this picture here. This picture here, you can see there's a kickstand on the back of the unit to stand it up. To make your gameplay a little better if you're playing it on the TV. And we're going to take a small ad break here. Maybe we'll play the video one more time really quick that we played at the beginning of the stream. Maybe I got to figure out how to... Here we go. All right, I noticed a few things in the video we need to go back and review. I want to talk about these things. So we're going to pause this stuff. We're going to pause this stuff as it comes up here. All right, so they even have the blinky lights on your main menu, so you use your D-pad, you use your A button to choose your game. Pretty slick looking. Good Grief is back. That's awesome. We just watched the trailer one more time, and I've got a few things I want to pick out and focus on here. Keypad is awesome. It's a lit keypad. Lit buttons. I gotta say, the LED lighting on these things, I think this stuff looks freaking cool. Having the orange or red lights on there, I think that looks so sharp. All right, this is where we start getting into things here. So we got Wi-Fi. Will there be additional games that you can get over Wi-Fi? I know there's not going to be like a store, but maybe they'll modify something with the firmware update and they'll add a few more games to your system. I don't know. If they do add a firmware on that allows you to add more games. They can do it right over Wi-Fi instead of you having to do this whole SD card patching system technique, which is kind of nice. Here they've got ports that you can see for 2 joysticks, and we'll be talking about that in just a minute. Don't let me forget that. I don't know what we're looking at really here. It looks like a speaker up above, but yeah, I don't know if this is the top of the unit or the side. I don't really remember where they had a speaker with 2 ports right next to each other, but let's keep going. Here's a shot of the top of it. So here's a few of the buttons we were talking about. The red power switch. It's cool that they have the L1 and L2 lit up on the triggers. That's pretty slick. They got a home button. That's what that mystery black button was for. You can see the SD card off to the right. It's probably going to be the back sides of it and either speaker or ventilation. Aha, ventilation, good call. All right, so they're putting the HDMI cable in. You can see there on the right side of the unit, which is the left side of our picture, is plus and minus for volume control. You can see the headphone jack there. You can see the USB port up on top. Games galore. All right, so this is interesting. You know, I talked about all the different control styles you have. The one thing this thing is missing is an analog stick, which is kind of interesting, right? I don't know what newer games would need an analog stick. You know, I'll be looking through here as I look at the games to see if this is a game that originally worked best with an analog stick, but we don't have an analog stick here. Centipede, they show that you can use this with the D-pad or the trackball, so that's awesome because those are lit up. Breakout, you're using the it was using the dial up on top. Missile command, you can once again use the D-pad or the trackball. All right, this is something we might have to look at a couple times here. Here's my thought. You have a D-pad, but is it really a D-pad or is it an analog stick? You know, usually a D-pad is either 4-way or 8-way. But I wanted to look at the video of Berserk and see if he's moving more than 8 ways. And it happens so quick, it's hard to tell. Then you got pinball, you use the triggers. They did have the A and B buttons lit up. Those are maybe for nudging the pinball table or something like that. So you're thinking an 8-way. That's probably what I'm thinking too, but all right. Looks like he has both top and right pressed at the same time for the diagonal up into the right. Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking, what if they have that whole pad be digital where it's like an analog stick and it can work all the way around? Maybe, I don't know. Let's add 2 extra pictures to the mix that I want to share here with you. This is not anything that I obtained through the marketing of this pre-order. These are prior pictures found on the internet, and these were also displayed at the game show where all this stuff was revealed. But through the magic of maybe Bluetooth or wires, You also have these add-ons here. If I can... So, like I said, if you're playing it on your TV and you got your HDMI cable plugged in, you've got your unit propped up on the kickstand, boom, you've got a full-on arcade style stick here. You've got a trackball. You've got a spinner. You've got a number pad and all the buttons your little heart can desire. This bad boy is called the GameStation Arcade Stick. It's compatible with this product and a bar top console that is coming out from MyArcade as well. Like I said, no word on this joystick on a release date or any more information since the show where it was revealed. But it's part of the plan, part of the environment, part of the ecosystem that this joystick works along with it, as well as, maybe we can zoom up on it here. Same as this gamepad. So you have a smaller portable gamepad you can have in your hand while you're playing on your big old TV, so you don't have to hold that big console. Probably the same size and feature of the unit itself, but more in a shrunken, compact, more closely together format like a game controller. Like I said, no word on these two products on release or price or anything yet that I know of. But those are out there as options. Or they should be coming out as options. Like I said, there was a bar top unit as well that they were advertising with the Atari games. Kind of the same control panels. You know, it's got the stick, the trackball, and the spinner, and then the buttons on there. So yeah, that's a lot to take in. The last thing we have to look at here, if I can find it, are the games. And how did I get to the games? They do have a list of the games somewhere here. Where do they have a list of the games? Over 200 games included. Oh, here, game list. Here you go. All right, I'm not going to read through all these, and if I do, I'm going to do it really quick. But we've got our slew of Atari 2600 games. It would be interesting to compare these to the GameStation Pro and see how many repeats we have. You know, it's always nice when you're buying different systems to have the ability to play new games that you haven't played on other systems, but still retain what you had on other systems. So I don't know. The one thing I'm looking for in this list of games, are these all Atari games? Do they have Activision games in here? It kind of looks like they don't. It kind of looks like we are stuck on Atari games yet, which means no Activision games, no Kaboom, no Keystone Capers, no Chopper Command, River Raid, all Pitfall, all that stuff. So with that being said, I'm really expecting them to be able to allow you to mod it and add additional games on yourself. But these are a lot of the same games you would find on the GameStation Pro. You've got the addition of some games on here like Indy 500. That is a spinner game, right? The Indy 500 on the Atari 2600 had a special paddle that rotated the full 360 degree way, so it'll be nice to be able to play Indy 500 on the system. But yeah, a lot of these are the same Same old rehashed games. And then you got Atari 5200 games. Centipede, Miesbork, Millipede, Missile Command, Baseball, Soccer, Tennis. 7800, Asteroids, Fatal Run, Food Fight, Ninja Golf. Once again, a lot of these games have made it either onto the Atari 50 or the GameStation Pro already. Maybe not all of them. There might be one or two in addition here that we haven't seen before, but here's actual arcade ROMs that they're including on the system. So you can play your Asteroids Deluxe, Berserk, Centipede, Crystal Castles, Gravitar. It'll be nice to actually have like spinners and trackball on here now for a lot of these. These are a lot of the games where the spinner and trackball come into play, and it's going to be really nice. You know, Black Widow, Liberator, Major Havoc, Night Driver. You know, a lot of these games really stink when you're trying to play with a joystick or a D-pad or something like that. So, but, you know, once again, a lot of the games are things you've seen on a lot of other systems. You know, nothing really new and crazy until you get to Atari Recharged. It's cool that they have Atari Recharged games on here. Asteroids, Berserk, Breakout, Centipede, Missile Command. I would consider these the top recharged games of the collection. There's a bunch more, but these are the primary ones. It's nice to have those on there. They did throw some M Network games on here now. M Network was the Atari version of Intellivision games. Atari did buy out the Intellivision software library like a year ago-ish. So they can release all the Intellivision games or M Network games that they want. Balls of Steel, 7 pinball tables. This is something new to this system, which is nice. So all this is new. I would say this whole section is something new that we haven't seen on MyArcade equipment yet. Pac-Man, Atari 2600. You've got arcade mode, the actual arcade ROM, and then the speed up mode. Jalco 8-bit games. Would be cool if they now see. That's what I heard rumors of that. I heard with the Wi-Fi, they may have some more games that they send you. Who knows? I'm kind of crossing my fingers. I'm not real hopeful, but it's cool. Maybe they could, you know. Jalco 8-bit, 16-bit arcade games. I think they had a lot of Jalco things on the GameStation Pro. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. I think they did. I don't know if they had this many. And these aren't really popular games. I'll tell you that right now. You know, these aren't. If I'm trying to remember back in my arcade games, and I'm looking at this list of games here. And to be honest, not one of them, you know, brings back any memories that I know what these games are. Then we got Pico systems. These are new. I'm trying to remember if they had Pico games on the GameStation Pro. Everything from 8-bit to 16-bit to arcade once again. So those are all the games you got. Top Racer 2, Top Racer 3000. I think we saw things like that on the Genesis and Super Nintendo, didn't we? That kind of sounds familiar. Top Racer. More ads. Ads everywhere. All right, so that is our tour of the GameStation Go. What do you guys think about it? Yay or nay? So this is going to be definitely one of those units that, until we have it in our hands, it looks good. It looks good on the web page. It looks good on paper. I would love to have, I would love to have an early unit for this for review to share with you guys and give you some actual impressions of how good or bad this thing plays. I mean, at first glance, everything looks top notch. I think MyArcade they could have a winner on their hands here. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss for some of these small portable gaming companies. This one looks to be pretty legit and pretty awesome. I think, from first glance, it looks like MyArcade did a really good job with this. Then you got to start weighing everything out. Okay. Once again, like I said earlier at the beginning of the stream, we've got 50 ways to play Atari games already. And most of these games we have either on the Atari Gamestation Pro or on other systems elsewhere in my life. Do I need more versions of those in my life? So that's the negative. That's the drawback. The price point, it's a little high. I would like to see like a 150 range, 140, 150. 170 is a little steep because you're not getting the new content. But then we go back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. How do they keep coming up with these ideas to draw me in that make me want to keep buying Atari products over and over and over again? Let's give these guys a handheld system. They haven't had a handheld system to take with them on the go, with HDMI output to plug into your TV and to plug into your capture card for streaming. They haven't had actual controls to play with. They haven't had the trackball. They haven't had a spinner. They haven't had the number pad for the 5200 games. If you do your emulation on your computer, you're missing out on all these good controls because you're probably sitting there with an Xbox joystick or Xbox controller and, you don't have dials and fun things like that. So the hardware is definitely where they get you on this one. And I got to tell you, I am excited for this, and I think it's going to do fairly well. I kind of hope they keep at it, though. With the Wi-Fi updates, I hope they give you a couple add-on games along the way. I hope they allow you to add your own media onto this unit. And please, once again, if you're listening, MyArcade, if you do allow us to add our own media on there, please allow us to flip through the icons for the games, not one by one individually, but allow page flips on there so we can scroll through a bunch of like 16 or 32 icons at a time to get through our library on there. So it's not just a game, it's feeling and experience. That is a good way to put that, good grief. So what do you think, good grief? On a scale of 1 to 10, how interesting does this look? And would it get you a pre-order? For me, I'm going to say this is like a 7.5 out of 10. And if it wouldn't have been for all the controls on the unit and the possibility of loading your own stuff on there, it would be more like a 4 out of 10. It would be like just any other retro handheld, but with a bigger screen. 8.7, that's pretty good. Now, one more thing I thought of, MyArcade, if you're listening out there, is if you do allow us to load our own games on there, and I'm speaking about this because I ran into this on the Gamestation Pro, once you load your own games on there, you do lose the ability to use some of the hardware. So like Kaboom, for example, if I'm playing a game like Activision's Kaboom, I want to use the dial, the spinner, to move my guy back and forth. On the GameStation Pro, once you load your own games, the spinner, the dial actually doesn't work with those games. Yes, there's workarounds for that. But it'd be nicer if there was an easier way to get the various different control features to work with your own media that you load on there. So keep that in mind. Maybe there's some great way, some opportunities there for us to load our own games on and utilize all those extra controls you supplied to us so gratefully. The give and take, right? So yeah, that's the GameStation Go. That's coming out in October of this year. There's a date specified. Like I said, last year was October 31st for the GameStation Pro. I'm kind of thinking end of the month as well, 30th, 31st, somewhere like that for this. And price point of $179.99. If it shows up on Amazon, I might have some Amazon points I've been saving up for a while that might be able to help me out. But it would be very cool, once again, to be able to share that with you a little ahead of time and get you hyped up even more with some kind of like pre-demo unit or something like that. I did reach out to MyArcade actually and ask them about that. So we'll see what happens with that. Some kind of early demo unit. But yeah, the unit is very promising looking, and I am very excited for that. So we'll see as we have any additional news that comes out for it. We'll share it on our future streams. But yeah, I think that's all we got time here for today. We're going on 10 o'clock here Central Time. It's time for this guy to get to bed. And actually, I thought this whole stream was going to last like 30 minutes. But yeah, we've been going at it for a long time here talking about this thing. So excited to see how the buttons in the trackball specifically perform. Well, there's no buttons in the trackball. There's buttons in addition to the trackball. Like you can't push the trackball down, to do a button press or anything like that, if that's what you're talking about. Kind of like your analog controllers for Xbox, how you can click the stick down. Not in it's the talk to text issue. Okay. Got it. Yeah, lots of questions remain around this thing. So it's nice to see more information coming out, but there's just so many more questions I have behind the scenes for this, right? So exciting times. It's kind of funny because just the other day I was talking to my wife and I'm like, there haven't been any new systems out as of late that I wanted to pick up or add to the collection. And then literally 3 days later, boom, GameStation Go comes out, for pre-orders. And it's like, perfect timing. I was just talking about getting the itch to pick something up. So I'm just curious how the buttons feel and specifically how the trackball and spinner performs. Yep. And then you have games that have, different spinner, I don't know what you want to call them, tightnesses. How loose is that spinner? Like if you're playing a game of pole position, if you think about the steering wheel on a pole position arcade game, you just spin that sucker and it's loose and it's free. You play spinner arcade games like Tempest on the arcade, and it's a dial that you can, spin really fast and get your cursor to move around the screen really fast. But then you go to Atari 2600 games where you're playing a paddle game like Breakout or something, and there's, you're using the paddle controller and there's tension to it, a little more tension to it. It's not just free spinning. So, what is their, what did they agree on, on the final product? Will be interesting to test that out. Only fear is that the trackball is a tad too small. I could see rolling around my finger and wanting it to be a little bigger, have more surface area. That is a good point. And Not really the trackball, because I've used trackballs that small, and it works okay. I mean, you're not going to play like Golden Tee Golf on it where you need to spin the sucker. You're just kind of controlling it around with your thumb, and I think that small of a ball will feel pretty accurate, especially with missile command. Could be wrong, but my fear a little more is on the spinner. On the GameStation Pro unit, the dials that they have on the stick, and maybe this is the exact same size. Maybe they reused the plastic mold for the spinner. I don't know. But it's a little tight on the fingers. If you use the Atari VCS joystick, the brand new one that came out, it's a 2600 style joystick, but the actual full stick on the top of it that you control with, it's a spinner too. And when you're using that spinner, your fingers are real close together, and it kind of feels like you're like trying to claw this thing and spin it, and it's not super comfortable. So yeah, it'll be interesting what they do on the GameStation Pro, and I don't have it active. I don't have it here with me. But on the spinner here, and this probably is the same exact spinner. They probably repurposed it. But on the spinner, I actually have a 3D model printed cover that goes over the top of it that turns it into a wider dial, like an inch diameter. So it's a little easier on the turn. On the GameStation Go, it'll be interesting because they do have some space there between the spinner and the D-pads. So, if that spinner is the same, I could use my attachment on there and give it a little bit bigger dial. So that'll be interesting to figure out too. So, all right, good grief. And anyone else out there watching, I think that's going to wrap it up for the GameStation Go edition here. We've learned a lot. We've talked a lot. And by gosh, I'm thirsty and I need some water. So I'm out of here for the night. 3D printed attachments for this. Yep, they are, and they are out there, and they're pretty neat too. So looking forward to that. I appreciate you stopping by, good grief, and hanging out for the preview here of the GameStation Go. If anyone else is out there and you enjoyed what you are watching, make sure to throw us a follow. We'll be back with more information on that as soon as more information is shared. We'll be back on tomorrow night, actually Tuesday. We're going to be playing some Amiga 500 games. We're going to continue our journey on Wings, and we're working our way through World War I, flying against the German army, trying to take them down. We're about maybe 45% of the way through the game, I'm guessing, at this point. So we're going to continue that tomorrow night. But thanks for hanging out and listening to me talk for the last hour or so. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks again, good grief. And anyone else out there watching, have a super rest of your evening.